Most men don't realize how much power they actually hold until they stop chasing a woman's attention. In today's dating world, everything seems upside down. Women act like the prize, men compete, and the ones who should be leading end up begging for validation. But the truth is simple. The moment you understand how a woman's ego works, you stop playing her game entirely. Every woman has an ego. It's built from attention, validation, and the reactions she gets from men. The more you feed it, the more she sees herself above you. The more you pull back, the more she starts to question herself. That's the balance most men miss. They think showing effort will make her value them, when in reality, it only inflates her ego. And once her ego grows, attraction fades. Destroying her ego doesn't mean being cruel or disrespectful. It means breaking the power her pride has over you. It's about shifting the dynamic back to where it belongs, where you lead and she follows. Because once a woman realizes she can't manipulate your emotions, she starts to respect you. And from respect, real attraction begins. Most guys today are desperate for a woman's approval. But what they don't understand is this: women admire men who don't need them. When you stop reacting to her games, stop proving your worth. Stop trying to impress her. That's when her ego starts to crumble. That's when she starts to chase your approval instead. In this video, you're going to learn exactly how to do that step by step. Simple, psychological, and brutally effective. Let's break down how to destroy her ego in a way that makes her respect you, desire you, and see you differently from every other man she's met. But before we start, listen carefully. What you see here in my Discover More Family Books and Literature computer channel is just a preview, not the full picture. If you really want to master the dating game and learn how modern relationships actually work, don't waste time. Rush right now to https://www.stoicapproachtolife.com, a GV vowel S, or go to my description and click the link below and unlock the real strategies, the real teachings, the real results. Don't just watch, level up today. So, let's get started. 1. Hold frame. Listen, your state is the battlefield. If you want her ego to stop running the show, you must hold frame consistently, calmly, without drama. Holding frame means you decide who you are in every interaction, and you don't wobble depending on her mood, a text, or a passive-aggressive comment. Women notice a man who stands steady. It's magnetic. It removes the emotional currency she uses to inflate herself. Start by owning your day. Before you interact with her, ask, "What are my priorities today? Work, training, friends, a project." If she becomes the emotional center, you lose ground. When you hold frame, you keep your priorities visible and don't let her derail them. If she flirts, great. If she blows hot and cold, fine. You don't change. You are neither needy nor cold for no reason. You are consistent. Boundaries are the practical tool of frame. Say what you mean and mean what you say. If she cancels plans last minute, respond with a calm, "All right, let's reschedule later in the week." No apology, no begging, no passive-aggressive messages. Her reaction to your boundaries tells you everything. If she pushes and you fold, you trained her to push again. If you hold firm, her sense of entitlement stops getting rewarded. Control your emotional responses. Don't react impulsively to provocation. If she's testing you with a slight or a dig, meet it with a short, composed response or none at all. Women who are used to attention will push until someone doesn't give it. When your response is neutral, the attention supply dries up. That's how ego recedes. The reward is gone. Frame also shows up in body language and voice. Stand tall. Speak slower than her. Use eye contact that's confident, not heavy. Don't laugh at every joke. Laugh when something genuinely lands. That calibrates value without cruelty. Keep your social proof visible. Maintain friendships, hobbies, and a life that isn't built around her validation. A full life is the best silent message a man can send. Create predictable standards. If you've set rules for how you expect to be treated, enforce them. If you told her you don't text back within certain hours because you're focused on work, keep that. Consistency breeds respect. Finally, be deliberate with attention. When you give it, do so with quality and selectivity. Don't flood her with constant messages or public praise. Make attention a limited resource. When she has to earn it, her swagger adjusts. That doesn't mean playing cruel games. It means valuing yourself. Men who hold frame don't manipulate out of malice. They lead from integrity, hold frame, set boundaries, control reactions, and make attention earned. Do that, and you shift the dynamic from chasing approval to earning respect. That's how a woman's ego loses its grip, not by attack, but by losing its audience. 2. The power of indifference. One of the most underestimated tactics a man can master is indifference. It's not pretending not to care. It's actually not caring enough to be controlled. Women feel when a man's emotions are tied to their reactions. If she can make you doubt yourself, chase harder, or lose focus just by pulling away, then she owns the frame. But the man who can stay calm when she's distant, quiet when she's testing, and unbothered when she tries to provoke a reaction, that man flips the script completely. Indifference is powerful because it starves her ego. Her ego thrives on attention, especially emotional attention. She feeds on your confusion, your chase, your attempts to fix things. But when she realizes her games don't shake you, she starts to question her power. And when she questions her power, attraction replaces ego. The modern dating world rewards men who can detach. Social media has made validation free and endless, which means most women are surrounded by men trying too hard. A man who doesn't compete for her attention stands out without even trying. It's not arrogance, it's presence. It's a quiet message that says, I don't need your approval to feel valuable. To practice real indifference, you must train emotional discipline. That means when she ignores your text, you don't double message. When she pulls away, you give her space. Not to manipulate her, but because your world doesn't pause for her mood swings. If she wants to reconnect, she'll do it. If not, you keep moving forward. Another key part of indifference is how you handle rejection or disrespect. When a woman tests you or throws attitude, the average man reacts, defends himself, argues, or tries to win her over. You do the opposite. You stay calm, maybe smile and change the topic, or walk away if needed. That kind of control is rare. It tells her your emotions aren't up for sale. Here's the truth. The man who's indifferent is the man who wins. Because women can't play emotional games with someone who doesn't respond to them. The silence you give her after she acts out will echo louder than any words you could say. It forces her to reflect. It disarms her pride. And it makes her realize she doesn't have the control she thought she had. Indifference makes her ego chase you, not the other way around. She'll start to wonder what makes you so calm, so composed, so unfazed. That curiosity turns into respect, and that's when you've destroyed her ego without ever raising your voice. Indifference isn't coldness, it's self-respect in motion. It's knowing that your peace of mind is more valuable than her attention. When you can reach that point, you become untouchable. Not because you don't care about women, but because you finally care more about yourself. 3. Silence speaks louder. There's a reason silence is a weapon most men never use. It requires strength. When a woman's ego is inflated, she's used to control through reaction. She'll say something sharp, test your patience, pull away, or act uninterested just to see how you respond. Most men fall right into the trap, chasing clarity, explaining themselves, or begging for attention. But the man who responds with silence, he breaks her rhythm completely. Silence is powerful because it makes her sit with her own thoughts. It removes the energy she expects from you. Women are emotional strategists. They test your balance without even realizing it. Sometimes when you go quiet, she can't read you. She starts to wonder what you're thinking, why you haven't reacted, whether you've lost interest, or worse, for her ego, whether she misjudged her own value to you. You don't need to announce that you're pulling back. Just stop feeding her ego. When she gives you attitude, don't argue. When she gets distant, match her energy with calm distance of your own. When she throws subtle shade, don't defend. Stay silent. Maybe smirk. Maybe just look away. The less you say, the more her imagination does the work. And nothing messes with a woman's ego faster than uncertainty. The problem is, most men can't handle silence. They panic. They think they'll lose her if they don't keep the conversation going or fix every moment of tension. But silence is what separates a man with self-control from a man driven by fear. When you don't rush to fill the space, She realizes that your world doesn't revolve around her presence or approval. Use silence strategically. After a disagreement, let her come to you. When she's being dramatic, don't match her energy. Stay calm, stay still. Let her words hang in the air while you give her nothing to grab onto. That absence of emotional reaction forces her to self-reflect, to look inward instead of using you as her emotional punching bag. Women often test through chaos. Silence is order. It's calm. It's certainty. And nothing frustrates an ego-driven woman more than a man who won't give her the emotional feedback she's looking for. It's not about being passive or ignoring her completely. It's about control, controlling what you give energy to. Every word, every reaction, every defensive explanation gives her ego oxygen. Silence takes that away. Let her reach out first. Let her ask what's wrong. Let her wonder. That's when the power shifts. Because the moment she breaks her own silence, she's showing that her ego can't sit comfortably without your attention. Silence isn't weakness. It's quiet dominance. It tells her, I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to argue. I know my worth. And that's the kind of man a woman respects, even when her ego resists it. 4. Stop explaining yourself. One of the easiest ways a man loses power in the modern dating world is by over-explaining. You'd be surprised how many men talk themselves out of respect by trying to justify every move, every message, every silence. Women don't fall for words. They feel energy. The more you explain, the more you signal that you need her understanding to feel at peace. And that's exactly what her ego feeds on. Here's a truth that most men don't grasp. When you constantly explain yourself, you're subconsciously asking for approval. You're saying, I want you to think I'm right. But a man who knows he's right doesn't need to prove it. He just moves with quiet certainty. A confident man doesn't sell himself. He lets his actions do that. Let's say she questions your choices. Maybe she asks why you didn't call, why you didn't text, why you didn't react to her story. Most men go into apology mode or start defending. I was busy. I didn't mean to ignore you. I was just tired. But a strong man gives her the truth. Simple and direct. I had things to handle. That's it. No extra detail. The less you say, the more powerful your words sound. Over-explaining shows emotional instability. It tells her you care too much about how she perceives you. When you talk too much to convince her, you lower your value. Because women respect men who make decisions without looking for validation. If she senses that her opinion can shake your choices, she'll lose respect. Even if she never says it, remember this: women test men through pressure. They'll question your motives, your tone, your timing, not always to attack, but to see how you hold up under emotional weight. When you don't flinch, don't argue, and don't rush to explain, it shows her that you can handle her emotional energy without being consumed by it. That's what separates leaders from followers in relationships. You must learn to let misunderstandings sit. If she misreads your words, let her. If she assumes something wrong about you, stay calm. The truth doesn't need defending, and time always exposes what's real. The more emotionally composed you are, the faster her ego deflates because the game stops being fun when you won't play it. Even silence in response to accusation can be powerful. A woman will expect a reaction when she throws shade or makes a dramatic statement. But when you respond with a quiet look or a slow nod and move on, she's left wondering what you're thinking. That mystery pulls her toward you. Confidence is quiet. Validation seeking is loud. Every time you explain too much, you teach her that her interpretation matters more than your truth. Stop that. Speak once clearly and let your actions reinforce your words. A woman's ego weakens when she realizes she can't guilt you into defending yourself. That's when she starts to see you differently as someone solid, self-assured, and rare. A man who doesn't explain himself doesn't need to. His energy already speaks for him. 5. Be willing to walk away. Every man needs to understand this. The ultimate leverage in any relationship or interaction is your willingness to walk away. Not bluffing, not pretending, but actually being ready deep down to leave if respect or peace is lost. Nothing breaks a woman's ego faster than realizing you can live without her. Most men can't do this, and that's exactly why women test them. When a woman knows you won't walk, she'll subconsciously start to push boundaries. It's not always malicious. It's human nature. She wants to know how far she can go before you stand your ground. And when you tolerate bad behavior, disrespect, or emotional manipulation, you train her to keep going. That's how her ego grows, through your compliance. But when you're a man who can detach, everything changes. You stop operating from fear. You stop begging for attention. You start leading with quiet strength. That's when she feels something most women rarely feel from men today: uncertainty, and that uncertainty triggers attraction. Walking away doesn't mean you hate her, it means you value yourself more. You understand that peace is non negotiable. You don't chase arguments, you don't force explanations, and you don't fight to convince anyone of your worth. You walk because your presence is valuable, and you don't give it away cheaply. To reach that point, you must have a life that supports your detachment. You can't walk away confidently if she's your only source of happiness. Build your world, your goals, your money, your fitness, your purpose, your friends. When your identity is solid outside of women, you become untouchable. No woman can emotionally control a man who's already fulfilled. Here's the reality: women are drawn to men they can't fully possess. The moment she knows you'd rather lose her than lose yourself, her ego cracks. She realizes that her charm, beauty, and games have limits with you. And instead of feeling dominant, she feels respect because she sees you as a man with standards, not desperation. This doesn't mean you need to threaten her or act cold. It's about your internal mindset. You're communicating that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. If a woman disrespects your time, you withdraw it. If she plays emotional games, you don't chase clarification. You remove your attention. That's the ultimate consequence. Most men think walking away makes them lose power. In truth, it's the only move that restores it. Because when you can leave, you stop needing. And when you stop needing, you stop feeding her ego. When she senses you're fine without her, her perspective flips. She starts chasing the validation she used to receive from you. She starts wondering what you're doing, who you're with, and why you're so calm. That's not manipulation. That's balance. That's how respect is built. Be the man who can walk. Not to prove anything, but because you know you'll be fine either way. Once you master that mindset, you'll never be controlled again. 6. Control the emotional tempo. Every interaction between a man and a woman has rhythm. One leads, the other follows. Sometimes subtly, sometimes openly. The man who controls the emotional tempo dictates the pace, tone, and energy of the connection. And the man who doesn't ends up reacting to her mood swings and emotions like a puppet on strings. If you want to dismantle her ego, you must stop dancing to her rhythm and make her match yours. Women test men emotionally to measure strength. They'll shift from affectionate to distant, playful to cold, calm to irritated, all to see if your energy changes with theirs. Most men crumble under this emotional weight. They chase reassurance when she's distant. They get defensive when she's moody. They try harder when she's cold. Every reaction shows she's in control of the tempo. And when she controls it, her ego grows because she sees that she can move your emotions at will. But when you control the emotional tempo, you don't rise and fall with her moods. You stay steady, grounded, composed. If she's distant, you remain calm. If she's irritated, you respond with cool detachment. If she's warm, you match her warmth without losing focus. That emotional consistency is rare, and it disarms her ego completely. Here's how to practice this. First, slow down your responses. Don't reply instantly to every text or call, not as a manipulation, but as a discipline. When you create pauses, you communicate that your attention is earned, not assumed. She starts to adjust her rhythm to match yours. Second, use tone and pace intentionally. Speak slower. Don't rush your words. Don't raise your voice when she does. Stay calm, even if she's emotional. That steadiness tells her subconscious that you're the anchor, not the wave. Women instinctively respect men who can remain calm in chaos because it signals emotional dominance. Third, control how much emotional energy you give. Don't get drawn into circular arguments or constant reassurance games. When she tries to provoke you emotionally, respond with short, calm statements or none at all. When she calms down, re-engage like nothing happened. That unpredictable stability breaks her ego's habit of control. Finally, use positive emotions strategically. Reward peace, not drama. When she's cooperative, feminine, and calm, that's when you show warmth, touch, or humor. When she's chaotic or disrespectful, withdraw energy, not affection. She'll quickly learn that her emotions don't dictate your behavior. Your standards do. Controlling the tempo doesn't mean being robotic. It means mastering presence. You're aware of her emotions, but not consumed by them. You understand her energy, but you don't absorb it. You choose your responses deliberately. And that's what keeps her ego in check. When a woman realizes she can't shake your emotions, something shifts in her. Her ego loses its grip and her femininity begins to surface. She becomes softer, calmer, more respectful because deep down, every woman wants to feel safe in a man's emotional leadership. Control the tempo and you'll never be chasing her energy again. She'll be following yours. 7. Value silence over validation. Most men today are addicted to validation. They crave approval from women like oxygen. They want to be liked, accepted, and constantly reassured that they're doing things right. That need kills attraction faster than anything. Because when a woman senses that you need her validation, her ego rises. She feels power, and that power becomes the source of her interest, not you as a man. To destroy that dynamic, you must learn to value silence over validation. Validation is emotional currency. Every compliment, every please respond, every long message explaining your side, it all feeds her ego. You think you're building connection, but you're actually making her feel like the prize. And once she feels that, she loses respect. Respect and validation don't coexist when they're one-sided. Silence, on the other hand, is your reset button. When you choose not to react, not to chase, not to explain, you create psychological space. That space makes her wonder. It makes her analyze her own behavior. It makes her ego question its own worth. That's how you regain control without saying a word. Start by reducing your need to be understood. Most men over-communicate because they're uncomfortable with tension. They want everything resolved immediately. But tension is where power lives. When you can sit in silence without trying to fix or justify, you show emotional maturity. You show that your peace matters more than being liked. The next step is choosing where your attention goes. Women notice who a man gives his focus to. If you constantly react to her moods, social posts, or emotional swings, you teach her that her presence defines your value. But when your energy stays directed toward your goals, purpose, and mission, she starts to compete for your attention, not the other way around. Learn to make silence your message. If she disrespects you, don't argue. Step back. If she tries to guilt-trip you, don't explain. Just go quiet. If she plays games, match her with stillness. She'll start to notice that her tactics don't move you, and her ego will shrink with every failed attempt. But here's the part most men miss. Silence only works when it's paired with inner peace. If your silence comes from anger or resentment, she'll feel it. Real silence comes from calm strength, the kind that says, I don't need to respond because I already know my worth. That's what makes it powerful. Women respect mystery more than constant reassurance. The man who always talks loses intrigue. The man who says little but moves with purpose becomes unforgettable because she can't fully figure him out. And her ego hates that. In today's world of constant noise, notifications, social media, emotional games, silence is rare. That's why it stands out. It draws respect, curiosity, and attraction without effort. When you value silence over validation, you reclaim control over your attention, your emotions, and your worth. You stop feeding her ego, and she starts feeling the void her pride can't fill anymore. That's when the real shift happens. A woman's ego only survives on one thing, your reaction. The moment you stop feeding it, it starts to crumble. When you hold frame, stay indifferent. Master silence. Stop explaining. Stay ready to walk away. Control the emotional tempo and value your peace over her validation. Everything shifts. She begins to feel something she didn't expect, respect. And from that respect comes attraction, softness, and effort. You're no longer chasing her. She's working to keep you. The modern man who masters his emotions doesn't lose women. He filters out ego and attracts genuine connection instead. And before you go, remember what you've just watched is only a small piece of the puzzle. If you're serious about mastering the dating game and building real confidence in modern relationships, don't wait. Visit https://www.stoicapproachtolife.com, AGVLS right now, and get access to the full teaching. That's where the real transformation